My name is Mary. I'm the quiet one in my family, the kind of quiet that people mistake for weak. I don't drive a fancy car. I don't post designer handbags on social media, and I certainly don't attend the weekly family dinners to impress anyone. But last Friday night, I wish I had just stayed home. It started with a group text from my sister Denise. She was organizing a dinner at La Fontaine, the kind of place where the napkins have their own zip code. You don't order from a menu there. You receive experiences. I texted back, "Hey, sounds nice, but that place is way out of my budget. Right now, I'll have to sit this one out." The response, radio silence, followed by a flood of laughing emojis from my cousins and a single message from Denise. "Come on, Mary. It's just dinner. You can afford to eat, can't you?" That one stung, and they knew it would. See? I've always been the odd one out. Denise is married to a corporate lawyer. My brother Tom runs a tech startup that mostly sells lies wrapped in buzzwords. Even my teenage cousin has a TikTok following bigger than most cable channels. And me? I freelance. Graphic design, copywriting, whatever pays. Feast or famine. Still, something in me snapped. I stared at Denise's text and made a decision. I was going. Not because I could suddenly afford it, but because I couldn't stand the idea of them sitting around that polished oak table, sipping the imported wine, laughing about me like I was some kind of pathetic charity case. I pulled up to La Fontaine, wearing a black jumpsuit I'd scored at a thrift store for $12. I wore my confidence like armor. My family was already there, seated at the biggest table in the center, laughing loud enough for strangers to cringe. Denise raised an eyebrow as I approached. "Well, look who showed up. You sure you won't have to split the breadsticks to make rent?" Laughter. So much laughter. I smiled, sat down, and didn't say a word. The waiter handed out menus. I noticed Denise gave him a little wink and said, "She'll just have water." My face burned, but I kept my smile tight. The night went on. They ordered everything: oysters, foie gras, a wine list that could fund a semester of college. I sat back, nodded, and let them entertain themselves with jokes at my expense. Tom leaned over at one point and whispered, "Hey, if you need a loan, just bark twice." More laughter. They were having the time of their lives. And I was watching, memorizing, planning. See, what they didn't know is that I wasn't broke. Not even close. I had spent the last 2 years building a silent little empire. No flashy posts, no big reveals. Just cold, calculated work, investments, clients, patents. And tonight? Tonight was going to be the night I stopped being their joke, because I had a little surprise waiting for them. But not yet. Let them keep laughing. Let them think I'm still the poor one. I was about to feed them their own arrogance, and the bill would be unforgettable. By the time the third course hit the table, some sculpted duck confit that looked like modern art, I had disappeared from their radar. They were too busy bragging about vacations they hadn't even booked yet. Tom was rambling about a villa in Tuscany. Denise kept name-dropping some influencer friend who once waved at her in a juice bar. And my Aunt Lisa had the nerve to say, "No, Mary, if you just got a real job, you wouldn't have to skip dinners like this." I gave her a smile that could slice through glass. "Oh, I have a job. It just doesn't come with business cards and self-delusion." That earned a few gasps, but they quickly brushed it off with more laughter, muttering something about my edgy poor girl sarcasm. They truly believed I was barely holding it together. Perfect. I excused myself around dessert, told them I needed some air. What I actually needed was to find the manager. His name was Pascal. Crisp suit. Too much cologne. The type of man who could smell money before it entered the building. I introduced myself, handed over my black card, and gave him one instruction. Whatever that table orders tonight, put it on me. All of it. Quietly. Don't say a word until I tell you. Pascal blinked. Then his expression shifted, the way people do when they realize they've misjudged you entirely. He nodded. I returned to the table just in time for espresso and tiramisu. "Don't worry," Denise said sweetly. "We're not going to make you split the bill." I almost laughed. "I wouldn't dream of it," I said, sipping my espresso slowly. They kept ordering more wine. Lisa got tipsy and started complaining about her third husband. Tom was loudly flirting with the waitress in front of his own wife. It was like watching a slow-motion train wreck made of privilege and Chardonnay. But I was calm, ice cold. And then, the moment came. The check arrived. Pascal walked over, placed the elegant leather folder in the center of the table, and smiled politely. "Whenever you're ready." Denise lunged for it, already preparing to make a show of covering the cost, just so she could brag about it later. She flipped it open. Her expression didn't change for 3 full seconds. And then, panic. Wait. This can't be right. Tom leaned over. His eyes widened. 4 figures? For one dinner? They started pointing fingers. Aunt Lisa accused the sommelier of upselling. Someone else blamed the truffle supplement. The tension was glorious. Then Denise called Pascal back. "There's a mistake here. We didn't order this much. And my sister definitely didn't eat." Pascal didn't blink. "It's been covered," he said smoothly. Denise froze. "By who?" Pascal turned, looked straight at me. "By Miss Mary." The table went dead silent. Forks midair, mouths open. I set down my cup. Surprise. And just like that, the laughter stopped. You could hear the ice clink in Tom's glass. Denise's cheeks flushed. Scarlet, Lisa looked like she was trying to do the math in her head and failing. I stood up. "Thanks for dinner. I mean, the company. The check's on me, but the embarrassment, that one's all yours." And then I walked out. But I wasn't finished. Not even close. The air outside La Fontaine was cool and still. I took a deep breath, letting the door swing shut behind me as if sealing the final act of a play I had spent years rehearsing. But I wasn't done. Because revenge without a finishing move is just petty. I waited by the valet stand, phone in hand, watching the restaurant through the glass. Inside, my family sat stunned, still digesting the fact that the girl they laughed at had just paid for their overpriced feast without blinking. Pascal came out a moment later, elegant as ever. "You sure you want to go through with the second part?" he asked, slipping me the final printout of the bill. "Absolutely." I scrawled a number on the tip line that made him raise an eyebrow. "Ma'am, this is more than generous." "It's not generosity," I said, slipping the receipt back to him. "It's strategy." See, I had spent years being underestimated, ignored, humored, treated like a stray they tolerated out of tradition. What they didn't know was that while they were chasing appearances, I was stacking assets. The house I lived in? Paid off. The car I drove? Fully owned. The business I ran? Quietly raking in 6 figures every quarter. But I never showed it. I let them think I was failing because they needed someone beneath them. That was the role I played, until tonight, as a moisier. The valet pulled up with my car, a sleek obsidian black electric coupe with 0 flash and all the power. The front door burst open. Denise came out first, heels clacking on the pavement, her voice sharp. "Mary, what was that stunt?" I leaned against the hood of my car. "Stunt?" "No, Denise. That was a mirror. I just held it up. What you saw was yourselves." Tom came out next, looking like someone had just repossessed his ego. "Why didn't you ever tell us?" "Because you never asked. You only ever assumed." They stood there, squinting at the car, at me, at the fact that the sister they mocked had just flipped the entire hierarchy upside down in one quiet night. "I'm not poor," I continued. "I'm private. There's a difference, but you wouldn't know that. You're too busy performing your lives instead of living them." Lisa joined them, arms folded. "So what now? You just humiliate us and vanish?" I smirked. "No, I'm giving you a gift. Perspective. The bill's paid. The staff tipped generously. Your egos? Well, that's between you and your conscience." I got in the car, engine humming like a secret weapon. "Next time you laugh at someone who says they can't afford dinner, make sure you know who's actually holding the wallet." I closed the door, rolled down the window, and gave them one last look. "And Denise?" She raised her chin. "You're right. I can afford to eat. I just have better taste in company." Then I drove off, leaving them standing in the glow of taillights and shame. Let them chew on that. I wasn't their punchline anymore. I was the bill.